by the state government. The government says the move helped in preventing the attackers from achieving their mayhem on other target communities.
We had two separate attacks, one in Quarters and then the other one in Darfur. So far we have casualty rates of total of 7 dead and some injured. So as at this morning everywhere is calm. We are still on the trail of those that will have perpetrated this evil deed, and we will not allow them to get away with it.
While the Operation Safe Haven troops are carrying out their mandate of protecting troubled communities from invaders, the locals are encouraged to continue to support the troops with useful information and necessary support to rid the areas of attackers. Funom Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
Now to party politics. Spokesman of the opposition coalition, Ikenga Gochinyere, has reacted to the attack on Action People's Party, saying it is coming a few weeks after a bomb was detonated at this same party office that left the building partially damaged. According to him, this is the same method and approach used by the assailants, who during a protest carried a bomb that later detonated, injuring the carrier of the bomb. He boasts that no power can intimidate the opposition in Rivers State, and there is nothing that can lead to removal of the governor. The federal lawmaker is appealing to President Bola Tinubu to intervene to avoid a repeat of the political crisis of the 60s and the 80s that led to the collapse of democracy. Now to our main conversation. The petrol situation in the country has continued to receive the attention of Nigerians. The situation is the same in Calabar, Cross River State, as residents are struggling to cope with petrol scarcity amid high cost of the product. Residents now buy the product between 880 and 1,200 naira per litre. Some fueling stations have stopped dispensing, citing inability to afford the new prices. However, the government-owned station is selling fuel at 885 naira per litre, providing some relief to residents. Petrol stations are experiencing high demand, leading to queues, while commuters are exploring alternative transportation options.
I know God knows why it is so. So I don't have anything to say. Because this well, I bought it when it was I used to buy 800, 700 up to the time that you get your 100 naira to up to this 1,000 naira. Thank God, because God keep me to see this high cost of fuel and other things.
It's really sad for everybody, and we hope that the government will do something about this, because it's not easy for the common man.
Please, government, I want you to help us, deliver us. I don't have a woman like me. I still get young. I am not too old, but I need help. I need help from government to make fuel to be come down, so that we have something to make it for ourselves to eat, to take care of our children.
Everybody feels so unhappy. Even we that drive motors, we are not comfortable because of the hardship, the new system of coming. Every day increase of fuel. Now we bought fuel 1,000 naira a litre. How are we going to drive?
No movement for Kwara State.
Kwara State, North Central Nigeria, commercial tricycle riders and motorcyclists have staged protests in some parts of Ilorin, the state capital. The protest left commuters stranded while it lasted, as many commuters resorted to trekking long distance to get to their different destinations. The riders mounted roadblocks across major roads, causing gridlock and disrupting daily activities. In the meantime, Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak has directed the immediate deployment of buses to different parts of the metropolis to ease the movement of commuters. Now let's bring in our guest who is joining us for more on this conversation. He is an energy expert, Olabode Shomi. Good to have you join us on the program. Mr. Shomi, it's been days and the queues are not going away from our fuel stations. Nigerians are worried. Prices have hiked and Nigerians really are worried. What could be going on?
Well, multiple things could be going on. In fact, multiple things are going on. But I think for the interest of all of us, it's always better to break the facts down. There is a difference between increase in petroleum products, which in this case is petrol, as well as fuel scarcity, which is a result of a disruption in the supply chain. So whether the price will be increased is a different thing. But the fact of the matter as it is today is that there is a disruption of the supply chain for which those who are responsible for the supply chain should give us a bit more explanation. One of the things that has come up has been the fact that the NNPC is owing, but the other balance to it is that the ones that are available, how much of it is made available to everyone. So at the end, it may not just be an NNPC thing, and it may also be an issue with the tanker drivers who form the marketers, and it may be an issue with the last mile, which is the filling station. The point I'm trying to bring out in all of this is that we could have any issue between all these three areas that could be responsible for the issues that we have. And it is our responsibility, all of us, everybody who is in Nigeria, anybody who has an interest in the Nigerian project, that whenever they notice inconsistencies, imperfections in the system, they should make those who are corrupting the system, taking unfair advantage of the system, known to the authorities, so that the authorities will be made to act and ensure that there is peace and stability for all of us.
But how would this happen? I mean, it's glaring for all to see, especially since the announcement by the NNPC Limited, about the price. Even before that, there had been scarcity. Many stations are not dispensing, and the few who are dispensing are not dispensing from all of their pumps. So it's really worrisome. And when you tell Nigerians, to make these people know, how exactly do they communicate these complaints?
Okay, so there's a process for all of this. For example, the NMDPRA, which is the regulator that handles downstream and even midstream activities, is responsible as a first-line charge for those who are engaged in sharp practices within the downstream aspect of the sector. So anybody can make that information known to them. Where the sharp practice is of criminal nature, it means it's a direct violation of the law, not just a violation of policy of government, then the police can be let into it. I'm saying this because the NMDPRA, the law enforcement agencies, there are only so many of them. They can only see so many things. If the society, if we as a people do not support them to ensure that they do their work, what we will have in our circumstances, what we will have in the day-to-day activities will be agencies of government who are not doing their work well. But it should be understood first and foremost that these agencies, these parastatals of government, need support of the people to be able to function properly.
Well, Mr. Showme, there is only so much the people can do. When someone has been on the queue, our reporters have been out. Sometimes they talk about someone who's been on the queue since about 5 or 6 a.m. The person has slept in their car, has woken up in their car. After 3, 4, 5 hours, they are still waiting. What do they do when they find black marketers? It would only seem normal, for them to actually patronize them. But before now, Aliko Dangote had actually assured that his products will be in the market as soon as Thursday today. But that's if discussions with the federal government, are fruitful. But we don't seem to have heard anything about that. What's happening?
So until we hear, between you and I, let us not exaggerate the influence of people who are consultants, who are analysts. We can only analyze based on information that is available. So what they are having is bilateral meetings between two parties, the federal government and Dangote Group. Except we are privy to what is happening there. We can only make speculations and maybe in some cases informed guesses of what could be happening. But it will be
Thank you very much for staying with us on the program. We're looking at the petrol situation in Nigeria, and Mr. Showme, an oil and gas expert, is joining us on the program. Let's take the conversation further. Just a few days ago, the NNPC Limited spoke about owing, some amount to international oil suppliers. And before now, there had been speculation that that actually existed, but then eventually the NNPC Limited confirmed that. Putting that on the backdrop of them declaring a 3.3 trillion naira profit at the year ending 2023, what do you think is happening? Is that ideal? What exactly is going on?
So, I'm not an accountant, but I will say this. I used to work with KPMG, which is one of the professional audit firms, professional accounting firms. And I was not an accountant, I was in IT consulting. And I do remember one of the complaints jokes when the auditors are among themselves is that we are accountants. We are not cooks. We don't cook books. We are not in the cookery business. It will appear, based on information that has come out to the fore after the release of these figures, that the books of NNPC could have been cooked because there is a discrepancy between the amount of monies they are owing, including the amount they have come forward to declare they are owing on the finished products, which is PMS, vis-a-vis the profit that they said that they declared. So those are very clear inconsistencies, which must mean that it's not just NNPC that has its issues. Even those who are helping the organization to function, which in this case is the auditors, are also complicit. And those are demands that we should have. And it is in times like this that we reach out to strong organizations, support organizations like ICANN, those who have competence to offer their service to Nigeria by helping us look at the books. They don't need to be specially called because they are part of the Nigerian project. They are invested in Nigeria succeeding. So where an organ like NNPC is producing figures that is so inconsistent, they can do of their own free will an independent analysis of those figures and then make it available to the public. That way, we can have an independent view of the issues that NNPC has presented in terms of their financial figures, but an issue different from what they have said. Accounting, forensic accounting, is professional work. It requires expertise. So it is people who have expertise in that area that are able to give us the best balanced views on those subjects.
All right. And on the heels of the increase in price, there have been, of course, all sorts of complaints coming from the people. We have heard from organized labor, we've heard from different bodies, and they're actually calling for a reversal to the old price or even to something lower. Is that something that is practicable?
There has already been inflation as a result of the removal of the subsidy. There has been a number of things that have happened. I am not sure what wisdom will be there in the reversal to the old price. But one key thing that must be understood is that when they talk about subsidy is basically a differential in price between what a product or a service actually costs and what is being sold to people. PMS, in this case, is a commodity. It is sold at a certain price. If you check what the international pricing is as of today, it is about equivalent of about 800 naira or thereabout. If it is sold at 600 naira, that shortfall in price, somebody is carrying it. It doesn't matter whether government calls it subsidy. It doesn't matter whether even government is not carrying it, but somebody is taking that cost. So if you are selling PMS at a price that is not reflective of the genuine cost of that price, then the question will be, who is taking that cost? Where is that cost going to? Fortunately for us, with the price arrangement with Dangote, the crude is being sold to him in Naira, so he does not have the issue of a fluctuating price that will end, the issues that bedevil other people as a result of the fluctuation between the Naira and the dollar. All those kind of things does not happen with him. And we expect that they will be able to give us at a figure that will be consistent. Even if it is, whatever it is, it's going to be consistent and it's not going to be affected by the vagaries of international pricing, as we do see.
That is the expectation, which is the reason, people have really been, they've really been complaining, because they just felt that the moment we hear about Dangote Refinery, then it should equal a slash in price. And so even before it comes on board, the expectation seems to be different from what the reality is. But here we are. And there have been those who believe that to actually help this, even the Dangote Refinery alone cannot solve this persistent scarcity that we are witnessing, that we need to bring more refineries on board in Nigeria. How do we boost local refining and supply of petrol?
Well, it's basically the same way any other business is boosted. I mean, it's incentive, it's discussing with stakeholders, it's protection of those who are putting in their investment, is encouragement of those who have the entrepreneurial spirit to go out and venture. It's basic business fundamentals. There is always an assumption with us that every problem is linear. In other words, it's a black and white problem. It's a kind of problem that the solution can just be resolved. Our problems are unique to us. Because they're unique to us, they involve some amount of thinking to be able to eke out a solution. It's not something that you solve by off the counter. It's like you ask, how do you raise up a child properly, a child well? It's not the same formula, even for different children of the same parents. So there is learning, there's going to be learning points, there's going to be periods where certain things need to be looked into and people are advised. So it's the same thing. When we're looking at solutions, there are solutions that involve meditation, that involves thinking, that involves attention to be able to find out what works for us. In the absence of this, there will just be a lot of talk, all motion and no movement. And that is what we want to avoid in order for us to be able to actualize and to be able to achieve goals that are important to us.
And that action really is what is important. And talking about our local refineries owned by the state, we understand the NNPC Limited is considering privatization, in this regard. Is that the way to go? Do you agree with them? This is in our best interest as a people.
Well, when we say privatization, one of the most successful countries that has done privatization of public utilities was Great Britain, and which was started by Margaret Thatcher around 79 across the years. There is what people expect to achieve by privatization, one of which is efficiency, productivity, competitiveness, and innovation. That the organization, the organ itself will be able to compete, it will be effective, it will be productive, and all that. Sometimes what is effective, what is cost effective, may not be cheap, may not be what people are looking for. And it's important to note that. However, where there is competition, where there is effectiveness, where there is innovation, all efforts will go into ensuring that prices go down. So at the end of the day, it's important that as Nigerians, we have some amount of knowledge so that we do not ask for things in ignorance. Competition is good for effectiveness, for competition, for productivity, for innovation, but competition does not necessarily mean a reduction in price. Because when a company goes into a business, it is going to invest money, they're going to invest equity, they're going to invest things, they're going to put in effort and all those things. They are not doing it so that people can be happy. They are doing it to make a profit. So whether we have 5, whether we have 10, whether we have 2 refineries, all of them are going to work on the baseline of profitability. But what competition will do is to ensure that nobody is taken away by capitalistic greed, who will now be taking unfair advantage of the populace because there is no other option. So the competitive nature will ensure that something else is available, but at a price that represents what is profitable.
All right, and well, maybe then in the days ahead, we'll wait to see what responses we'll begin to hear in this regard. But as we wrap up the conversation, the queues are still there, and in some locations, we are even beginning to see a number of people, gather against this. What would be your word to Nigerians as we look towards an end to this persistence in scarcity and queues at our fuel stations?
I think the first responsibility lies within those who are responsible for the supply chain, which is in this case the NNPC. And one of the things is that they need to improve in terms of their communication of the crisis to the people. You know, in corporate communications is both a science and an art. It's a science in the sense that there are principles that guides it. It's an art in the sense that as you start to practice those principles, there are nuances of perfection that comes in, that just comes by practice and that comes by certain people who have flair for it. When people are going through this kind of situation and those responsible, I want to believe, are doing their best, and the people do not believe that they are doing their best, that is a communication issue. I mean, corporate communications can be described or functions as something that bridges the gap between the wanted perception and the current perception. So the wanted perception is how you want to be seen. The current perception is how you are seen. So that gap between it, communication bridges it. So when the people are going through fuel scarcity, they are going through queues, they are suffering, man hours are being lost. The people in charge owe it to the people that every day they are communicating with them, telling them what is being done, and giving them a clear idea of when the crisis will end. The people cannot just be left and be made to say, oh, the thing will end soon. Oh, Dangote is coming in 2 days' time. Oh, we have not agreed to prices. Those are not the kind of information that should be filtering. There should be a coordination of all the information out there, and those things must be distilled and delivered to the people in language and in ways they understand, so that the people are not seeing themselves as enemies or in a different camp from those who are in government. Those are very key things that should be looked into, and in the ways ahead and as solutions to the current crisis.
All right, and we should expect some clear word from the federal government, because now we hear that the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, has summoned the Minister of Petroleum Resources, that's Heineken Lokobere, CEO of the NNPC Limited, and the Nigerian Mainstream Downstream Regulatory Authority on the instance of the President. Of course, we know it to be related to this. We wait to see what the outcome of that interaction would be. Olabode Showumi, energy expert, thank you very much for talking to us on the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. A pleasure, always a pleasure to be here.
That's a program today. Thank you for being a part of it. Watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and at 6 a.m. I am Abosedi Adenira Adiremi.